All right, welcome back, everybody. We can easily die and have the game over, but how do we complete a level successfully? That's what we're going to cover in this tutorial. First thing we want to do is we're going to create a new finish platform. Okay, so in order to do the finish platform, we are just going to make a copy of the platform object. So I'm just going to right click, I'm going to duplicate it, and then on this copy, we're going to call it finish with the capital F. Finish, like so. Okay, this is going to be slightly different. So the X scale, we're going to set it to 12, make it a little bigger. Bam. All right, and we're also going to move it down. So I'm going to grab this move tool and just push it down. Okay, so there's the finish platform. And so what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this in the hierarchy. And in this right click, we are going to create a 3D object cube. Okay. And this cube will be called the finish collider. So it's 3D object cube. And we're going to double click it. Sorry, we're going to rename it. And it's going to be called finish collider. Like so. Okay. Now this cube, we are going to change its transform position, and that's about it. So we're going to change its y to 0.2. So that's on the transform, on the y for the position. Make sure it's selected. Oops. 0.2. Perfect. Okay, we're just going to offset it a little bit. Okay, so move it up by 0.2. So that way we collide with it before hitting it. And now that we have that, what we want to do is we're going to, if you notice here, let's zoom in on it a little bit. Oh, I guess we got it here. Let's try doing zoom. I just want to zoom in on here because I want to show you how it's offset. We're going to hide this. Okay, so the best way to hide it is to get rid of the mesh renderer. The mesh renderer is what lets us see it. So if I uncheck it, there you have it. But we're just going to completely remove it. We actually don't need it, so we remove that component altogether. Notice how it sticks up just a little bit so that it will hit that before we sort of hit the platform. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to turn this into the finish collider into a trigger so that we can have an on enter trigger event. Okay. All right, so now we're going to update the layer. We want this layer to be default. So it's no longer a platform layer, only the finish collider. The other thing what we probably want to do is when we're done working on this, we're going to drop it into the prefab. So don't forget to do that. I'll try to remember that as well. Okay, so we're going to change its tag to be finish. So we go over to tag, we click add tag. I'm going to click plus, and we're going to type in here finish, little f. One N, click on save. And then we're going to go back by deselecting, clicking, and under tag. Oh, you know what? We already had a finish tag. I didn't need that. So let's go back here. We'll go to the add tag, and let's just delete that tag. We didn't need it. So something to think about. Go back to the finish collider. Tag is finished. Remember, it's a default tag. Layer is default. We're good to go. I think we're ready to code this now. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes here. Let's just make sure we got everything set up. Finish collider. Let's move it to the prefab now. So we're going to take the finish. We're going to drag it over to prefabs or freepabs, as I like to call it. And now that we have it in there, let's make a script. So it's going to be part of the player controller script. So we go over to the player. I'm going to double click on the player controller. I'm going to open it up in Visual Studio. And let's code this dude. All right, so it's the trigger enter. We're going to compare the tag. We're going to need a tag too. Okay, so you should be getting used to this by now. Every time we need a new tag, we're just going to drop it together. We're going to put all our tags in the same location. And we're going to follow the same format we've done before. It's a string. Oh, not static. String. And we're going to call it finish underscore tag like so. And we'll have to add it later. And we have the void on trigger exit, void on trigger enter. We already are checking for the pickup tag, so let's just basically model the same thing. So we're going to do an if other dot game object dot compare tag is, and then we'll call it the finish tag. If that is the case, then what we're going to do is we want to level the finish, or we're going to the GM level finished. Okay, so it's very similar to the game over. If you want to, you might add bonus points. GM.score plus equals, let's put 500 for completing the level. Why not? All right, so save your changes. And we go back to Unity. And on our player controller script, let's go expand that. Let's minimize some of these other objects. Everything's freezing right now. There we go. And you'll see here finish tag, and it's just going to be finish, capital F, because that was the name of the tag we selected. Let's test this out, see if it works. Okay, so we want to just be able to drop to the last one. Pretty straightforward. Ooh, this is going to be hard. Can't get there between here. Okay, this will be fun. And I don't think I can do that. Okay, so let's adjust this and make it somewhat winnable. Let's go back here, player, finish, there we go. I'm gonna click on here, zoom out just a bit, oops. I click on here, I can just go, whoop. I'm gonna take that object, click it, move it. Well, let's move it over here. Let's run it. Now let's try to finish our level. Ready, set, go. And by doing finish level, it just takes us right back to the beginning. We got it working. Let's make sure we commit our changes. Okay, so at this point in the tutorial, I'm kind of done, and the next thing we're going to add is going to have a cool little movable platforms that we can adjust and do a lot. And I don't feel like I can really fit it into the time frame I'd like to. So rather, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I'm going to talk about some of the modifications you already have available that you probably, or you might not be aware of. Let's look at the livebox or livebox. First thing I want to show you is that whenever we make these public variables, that exposes these objects so that we can configure them. And so I want to focus your attention on the livebox controller script over here. We have a direction, x of 0, y of -1, 0, or a z of 0. We have a speed of 0.03. We can adjust these. So instead of doing a y of 1, you've been seeing how this movement goes, or a -1, let's set y to 1, and let's test it out. Suddenly, it's going to be moving in the opposite direction. Now it's going down. Okay, so notice we just changed it there. We can make that 0, and we can set x to 1 over here. Now we can run it. And suddenly now it's going to be moving horizontally. Or not, because something went wrong. Why is that not? Oh, I know why it's not moving horizontally. It's because I'm doing that with my object is being controlled horizontally. Okay, so that wouldn't actually affect it unless I took off that one component of having it follow left or right. But check out what happens when I change this. That's right. So I'm now going to follow y, not x. And now it's moving. But if I jump, it moves up with me or down. And oh crap, I'm already over. Because I went outside of the range of the live box, also known as livebox. Also, I don't remember what it's called. I can change that to -1. Now, we've locked the z on everything, so just ignore the z part here. We can set all this to 0 and just follow x and y, and we'll just follow the player. But that is the beauty of these public variables. So, and then what's cool about this is we can create other scenes. And when we have our other scenes, then maybe one scene we're following the x and moving up and down, or following the y. So the last thing I would just want to point out is I'm going to reset that to -1. And knowing the way it's moving, and I'm going to follow X. I'm going to go right back to where we were before. The one thing I do want to change is where our player is. So I'm going to, I'm going to click on the player in here. I'm going to click on the move tool, and I'm actually going to move the player up and over. And that way, I'm about as high as I can go, like so. And then when it starts moving, you'll notice I'm up a little higher. I start at the very top. I'm going to want to be moving down. And there we go. Okay. Game over. All right. Let's see. What other things do we have available that are adjustable? For one, if we go to, where is it? Let's go to our player controller and see if we have anything on there. Go to player. We got speed. All right. We're setting the player speed, so we can adjust that in here. Probably don't want to change any of this stuff, but let's look at our game manager. Our game manager has this thing on levels. So if you get to the part where you want to expand it and have multiple scenes, I'm pretty sure what you do is on our levels, we go ahead and add it in here. And then we click on 2, for example, click over here. Now, if we add another scene, we can add a scene, set it all up, and then change it into one of these. So right now, main, this is the scene. And that's why the menu level, victory level are both at main. So this is going to allow you to have multiple scenes, and the game manager will control all of that. So I just wanted to give you some of the options you have available, and I want you to sort of experiment as you go. And you'll find that what's cool about this particular project, it's going to be a great base project you can use for other things. Or you can grab these scripts and you can use them in other projects and adjust them to whatever suits your fancy. So anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. And so on the next tutorial, we're gonna have some fun, but we're gonna get a little more deep into the code this next time. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching.